What's going on, everybody? I'm Jeff St. Pierre, and this is episode 110 of the Adult Education Podcast. This week, I'm speaking with author Linda Akeson McGurk. Thank you so much for checking out my show. I really do appreciate the fact that you take some time out of your day to listen to Adult Education. The show is all about learning new things or maybe learning a little bit more about some topics you're already familiar with. I like to speak with experts across all fields to learn more about health, education, technology, mental health, and really just about anything. If you'd like to support adult education, the best way to do that really is to leave a 5-star rating on whatever platform you're listening on. And if you like what you hear, please share it with your friends. I love how word of mouth can inspire new people to check out the show. That's really the best way to get new listeners is through recommendations. So please pass this along to your friends if you like it. I used to get so jealous of my friends that went to colleges that still required gym classes. My school did not. I mean, let's get it together, Villanova. Come on. Where are the gym classes, the physical education? So let's call today's lesson Enjoying the Outdoors 101. I'm speaking with author Linda Akeson McGurk. She's a freelance writer who currently lives in Sweden. Most of her writing surrounds being outside and enjoying the world that's outdoors. Her latest book is called The Open Air Life. Discover the Nordic art of Friluftsliv and embrace nature every day. I've been practicing some of the words that I need to say in this podcast. I'm still terrible at it. I own that, but I'm trying. I honestly am making an effort. You'll learn more about Friluftsliv in our conversation, but to put it simply, it's about teaching people how to enjoy and embrace nature and the outdoors. One of the things we talk about in our conversation you're about to listen to is about how Friluftsliv is an idea that's taught and ingrained in kids and others in Nordic countries. They have all the same technology that we have, and they enjoy it, but they also enjoy the world that is right outside their doors. They're not sitting there trapped on their cell phones or watching TV all day long. They really love to be outdoors, in good weather and in bad. I'm fascinated by this idea. I love the outdoors, and I know the value of enjoying nature, but it's not a message that we preach to each other or to our kids especially. I really hope you enjoy my conversation with Linda Akeson McGurk, and I hope you're listening to it while you're outside, enjoying some outdoor time. Hi there.
Hello, how are you?
I'm great. How are you doing?
Good.
Good.
Busy.
Yeah, I'm sure you are. These days are, I'm sure they're a lot of fun, but I'm sure they're also crazy at the same time.
Yes, lunchtime is a busy time, and today especially with all these interviews scheduled. So it's been back to back here all morning, or it's evening here now, but yeah.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, where are you today? Are you you're in Sweden, right? Is that?
Yes.
Yeah, great.
I live in Sweden now after living in the US for many years, but moved back here about 4 years ago.
Yeah, I wasn't sure. I know sometimes during a press event, they'll fly the people in to be here in America to make it a little bit easier to avoid the time changing for all these conversations. But I'm glad to speak with you. You know, my wife and I have half serious, half not serious, been talking about moving to Sweden over the last few years. We've gotten to the point where we were actually really considering it, but then we got pregnant. And having the only grandchild in the family, we're kind of like, man, our families would kill us if we flew away.
Yeah, I understand that. I mean, there's something about being closer to family. I mean, I know from experience, having been living apart from my family for many years, it's certainly good to be back closer to my parents. But then my dad up and moved to Portugal. So
you're like, I moved back home to be closer with you, and now you're just packing up and leaving.
Yeah, he retired and decided that the weather was a lot nicer in Portugal. So
well, I guess you can't really argue with him about that, right?
No.
Well, I do love this whole topic and this whole idea of going outside. I gotta say, I've always spent a lot of my life outside. I've always tried to be outside as much, whether it's through athletics when I was younger, or I love snowboarding in the wintertime and getting out and enjoying the mountain and the air. But I have to tell you, during the pandemic, I actually kind of became more of a homebody because everybody else went outside. I was like, all my favorite trails, like everything, it was just crowded.
Yeah. I know. That's why I'm a big proponent of expanding access, or, creating more nature areas, more public parks, more urban trails. I think we need more of that.
I don't disagree with you at all. And Matt, we're actually going to jump into this earlier than I thought we would, but there's something that you talk about over in Sweden. I want to make sure I word this right because I wrote it down. Right to roam. And that is such a fascinating idea to me that we certainly do not have anything like this here in America.
Right. Yeah. I mean, here in the Scandinavian countries and especially in Sweden, we have what we call allemansrätten, which is, like you said, the right to roam, which means we can access both public and private land for outdoor recreation. So we can walk, bike, ride horses, even have campfires, camp out. You can camp for a couple of nights without asking a landowner for permission, as long as you stay out of the immediate field of view. Like you can't set up a tent in somebody's backyard, obviously. That wouldn't be very popular. But yeah, like in the natural areas or countryside, definitely we're spoiled that way. And I didn't realize what a unique right this is until I moved to the US, and I realized that, I came across all these sort of no trespassing signs and barbed wire, and in Sweden it's even illegal to put those signs up. You can't do that. You can't keep people out of your property, and obviously it comes with a lot of responsibilities too, not to damage or destroy anything, whether it's private or public land. So there's a special ethos to that tradition, and it sort of some aspects of it go back to medieval times. So we're talking a long-standing tradition of everybody sort of having access to natural areas, and the sort of notion that nature belongs to all of us.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was thinking a lot about this, and could this be something that we could pull off in America? And I mean, I know, you'd have to remove capitalism, which will never happen here in America. That'd be the first step. But I also just don't know, and I hate to say this about people, I don't know if people are respectful enough to other people's property. I know I have friends that live in Colorado, and there's much more nature there, much more, hiking trails, a lot of places you can go. And they say one of the biggest problems is people just don't respect what they have, and they kind of leave trash around or whatever. I just think that's another major problem, because I'm sure there'd be a lot of people that would say, hey, come on in. Like you're traveling through, camp on our yard, you're fine, no big deal. But people won't clean up after themselves. And now you don't want to be the landowner having to pick all that stuff up.
No, that's the sad part. And that's why I believe, that these rights have to be coupled with education as well. And here in the Nordic countries, we get all that through preschool. So Friluftsliv, or open air life, which I write about in my book, it's actually a part of the national curriculum for the preschool. So this is not something that we just start as adults. It's something that's integrated as an integral part of children's lives as well. So when you learn from a young age, you see preschool kids out there picking up trash and learning about nature and taking care of nature in a playful way. And a lot of it is taught through just through self-discovery, or like using magical characters. And we have like this forest troll that helps introduce children to environmental stewardship. And I think that's really important too, because then you get it from the get-go. And then of course there's always going to be people who who are not respectful. You see it here too, but maybe less so. There's unfortunately no getting away from it. But I still believe that the more access people have, and the more exposure, and the more important it is in your day-to-day life, then the more likely you are to behave as well. Because if you're out there walking around every day, you're likely not gonna like to see the place trashed, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, for sure. I mean, you want to take pride in what you have out there. I've been practicing the word so hard, Friluftsliv. Am I close?
That's really good. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, you did really well there, actually.
You, you, you don't have to pander to me, but I've been trying so hard to make sure that I got it. But the book is
Oh
called The
no.
Open Air Life, Discover the Nordic Art of
Yeah.
Friluftsliv and Embrace Nature Every Day. And I love what you talk about with kids and how in Sweden and the Nordic countries, they start early, making sure the kids understand it. And there's just a different philosophy with children there and learning as well. Like my wife is a teacher here. She teaches middle school, but she'll say all the time, the way that we work with younger kids, you can't expect a 4 or a 5-year-old to want to sit behind a desk for hours. That's just
No.
not who they are. Play is so integral, and being outside and just letting your mind roam and understand what's going
Yeah.
on around you is so important. And we really stunt that here in America.
Yeah. Yeah. And I write a lot about that in my first book, There's No Such Thing as Bad Weather, that here in the Nordic countries, until age 6 or so, when kids here start what would be the equivalent of kindergarten, there are really no expectations on academic learning, or academic, like for kids to train to learn how to read and do math and things like that. There's still a lot of learning going on, but it's all done in an organic way, and it's all sort of through play. So for example, there's no letter tracing or anything like that with kids sitting at desks. The kids are playing or doing guided activities, but a lot of it is outside. And of course, you have forest schools where kids are outside pretty much all day. And it's much more sort of child directed, and with the teachers being more like co-discoverers. And I really think that there's something to that to keep that part of childhood sacred, because the kids are under so much pressure these days, and the research, frankly, doesn't even support this pressure of academic learning early on. There's just no reason to force developmentally inappropriate milestones on kids when if you just give them more time, they learn a lot quicker later on when their brains are more receptive and more developed to do all that. When they're little, they need to play, and there's just frankly so many benefits of outdoor play too that will help them as they get into the more academic settings later.
What I also appreciate is that as a culture, Sweden, Norway, the Nordic areas, they really emphasize being outdoors as a culture. Whereas, as society has changed, as technology has changed, say here in America, we've gone much more digital. We do a lot more on our computers. We sit at desks a lot more. And that stuff still happens where you are in Sweden. But there's still an emphasis to make sure you do get outside and you enjoy that and you have an appreciation for the world. I was just interviewing somebody, and he's probably in his early to mid 30s, I'd say about 34. And he was telling me about his life as a child. He was like, what's funny is I'm probably the last generation that grew up playing outside. And I thought to myself, I don't think he's wrong, which is kind of sad. Like it's sad that kids don't have the same pressure or emphasis to be outside and enjoy that.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how many Americans have told me that. Because a lot of people feel like something has been lost there. And, as far as technology goes, we're sort of at the forefront of that here in the Scandinavian countries too. We are early adopters when it comes to technology. We're very much, our kids have all the video games and the apps and all that, just like American kids do. But I think, and I think that makes it even more important to have Friluftsliv as a counterweight to that. Because even if your kids are on their devices, as long as they get outside as well, I think most people here don't have a problem with the gaming, and they can even see benefits of kids being able to connect in more ways and more opportunities to connect with each other than we had when we were kids, but they still very much have that need for physical activity, to meet up face to face, and to have, just have all those benefits of being outside. And that's what Friluftsliv does. It puts it in a context, and for a lot of families, it's just a common way of hanging out. you'll meet up with friends to go for a walk. You'll maybe you'll cook a meal outside, or yeah, just go swimming together. And so, and it becomes just part of the daily rhythm, and also a way for the kids to hang out and get socialized into it, and learning important skills in the process, like making fire, and dressing for the weather, sleeping outside, and things like that. So I think that socialization part is really important, that adults sort of show the way, and a lot of times you might have 3 generations out there on the hiking trail, and it's one of my favorite ways of hanging out with people.
I think it's important to note too what you just were talking about, and that Friluftsliv can be multiple things. It doesn't have to be this idea where I'm going to sell my house and go live off the land and be outside. You just said it could be
No,
cooking dinner outside with your family. It could be going for a nice long walk. It's just about really
yeah.
getting outdoors and enjoying that, and understanding where
Mm.
you are.
Yes, exactly. Connecting with your local community, and doing it in a way that works for you. Not everybody lives in an area where, next, or I would say very few people live in a place where they can easily access the wilderness.
Mhm.
I mean, we have huge wilderness areas out west in the US, but most people don't live there. That's why they're called wilderness, right? So if you're in a city, definitely utilize those park spaces, and even other little, maybe it's just the woods at the end of the street, or the creek down, behind your house, or finding those little places where kids can roam, and just connect with nature. If you have a backyard, that's a great place to start, practicing Friluftsliv. And you don't have to be an expert. You can learn as you go along. I've learned a lot of skills in my adult life. I'd say I'm far more into this than my parents were, and my grandparents, even though they socialized me into it. But then I've kind of taken it a step further with, cold swimming and winter camping, and learning different survival skills and things like that. But you don't have to do all that to enjoy Friluftsliv. It's just you decide which level you want to be at, and it is about challenging yourself, but there's no set goal for everybody. You can decide that for yourself.
Yeah, in the book you kind of mentioned there's like sort of 3 different types, if you will. There's everyday, weekend, or vacation. So you can kind of,
Mm.
base everything around what you're really going to be able to accomplish.
Right. So the everyday Friluftsliv is, the stuff that you can easily do on a daily basis. And for a lot of people, that is just a walk around the neighborhood, or hanging in the backyard, or something like that, something that's nearby. And then on the weekend, maybe you can go to a state park, or someplace a little more wild, or do a cookout, or a sleepover somewhere that takes a little more effort and planning. And then maybe once or twice a year, if you can get to like a wilder space, then that's going to be really restorative, and just a way of trying out different skills, where you can camp out maybe for several days. I think that's really can be really beneficial, and also then you can get to those places that are a little more out of the way, but can be really awe-inspiring, like the mountains, or yeah, those like really scenic places. So there's just different levels of Friluftsliv.
We talked a little bit about some of the benefits already, just kind of
Mm.
through this conversation, benefits of
Mm.
Friluftsliv and being outside. But talk a little bit more about some of the things that can come from that, like the mental health aspect. I mean, physical health seems kind of obvious. If you're going for long walks, you're going for hikes, you're getting your body moving, you've got a little bit of that going on. But I don't know if people really
Mm.
understand how much it can benefit our mental health as well, just to be
Yeah.
outdoors and in that space.
Yeah, I mean, it does. We automatically, like, our bodies and minds relax when we're outside, and there are several different theories behind that. But it really makes sense when you think about it. We've evolved in nature for millennia, and our bodies haven't really changed that much since we lived in caves. And but our societies have changed, and we now live in places that are essentially bad for our health, stressful. There's a lot of noise and just crowds and traffic, things that make us stress, like that stress our systems and trigger like immune responses in our bodies. And when we go outside, what happens is, according to one theory, the biophilia theory, is that when we see these green spaces and blue spaces, then it's comforting to us because they have given us so much in the past. Like our ancestors have been dependent on green spaces for, obviously, for food, and blue spaces, water, for survival. And so really it makes a lot of sense that we gravitate towards nature. And also there are other theories about restoration, and why we relax and our cortisol levels go down, our blood pressure. I mean, these are all measurable effects that research have sort of uncovered. And when we're at work, we're sitting at our computers and we're working on these complicated problems, or we're sitting in busy traffic, that all triggers, that requires a lot of focus and concentration. But when we're in nature, we're able to just let go of that. And it around us, we're surrounded by like soft fascination in nature. We can just look at the water, watch it, watch the waves roll in, and it sort of triggers this soft fascination that helps us relax. So I think there are a lot of contributing factors, but at the root of it all is the fact that we are a part of nature. So it's really just that we've built these we've built societies that aren't really healthy to us. They're not in line with with our evolutionary past. And so that's why we need to return to nature to get that effect, that relaxing effect.
I think most people here in America would say during the spring and the summer, they spend some good time outdoors, whether it's going to a lake or a beach or whatever. But when it comes to wintertime, we love to complain about it. We love to hibernate. We love to stay in our houses. And, there's a big thing that I've been hearing a lot more of recently, seasonal affective disorder, SAD. And you hear about that here in America. I don't feel like you get the same press about it for other places. And I'm assuming part of that is because you're so open to the idea of still enjoying the wintertime. Look, it might not be great to be outside when it's 20 degrees, but you're still out there, you're enjoying it. You find things to do that make it fun for you.
Yeah, I think, we've just made a virtue out of necessity here. It is so cold and dark and rainy here for so many months of the year. But people still feel like it's worth going outside because they can still feel the fresh air, the benefits of it all, to be outside. And I tell people, that I struggle sometimes too to get outside when it's when I can hear the rain pounding on the window before I go. It's not exactly like I'm jumping with joy, but the thought of going outside, but I still do it because I know on an intellectual level that I'm going to feel better afterwards. So we do it anyway. So we even have that saying, there's no such thing as bad weather, only bad clothes. And we've just developed a way of dressing for the weather and heading outside anyway. And it's expected from everybody. Like, events don't get canceled because the weather is bad. I remember once when I lived in Indiana, like Halloween was rescheduled because there was a chance of rain, and I couldn't believe my eyes. I was like, is this for real? We're like moving Halloween? But we tend to just roll with it here. It's like rain or shine. This event is on. To a certain point, of course. We don't, there's hazardous weather, of course. We don't go out during those times, but A lot of the times, I feel like the beauty lies in the contrast. You go outside to really feel and appreciate the warmth and comfort of home. You feel so much better when you come inside and you appreciate that you have that cozy, warm home to get back inside to. And yeah, that's part of my motivation anyway. And I definitely feel, you get that boost of creativity and just if your focus improves when you're outside. I mean, there's research on that as well to show that we become better thinkers after spending some time outside. We become better at solving problems, and I often feel that in my work life as well. When I get stuck on a problem or anything, I go for a walk, and that's how I usually solve a lot of things in my head.
One of my favorite things about going outside right now, I have a nearly 2-year-old daughter, and if I take her outside for a nice long walk, she sleeps a whole lot better at night.
Yes, I know.
I was like, man, we're going to have a
Yeah,
good night tonight. We had an hour walk. We're great.
yeah, yeah. It wears them out.
Yeah, right. Exactly. I grew up in New
Yeah,
Hampshire. And so I think I'm kind of similar. I think you take advantage of it a lot more than I do, but I do think we're kind of similar in our understanding of being outside. Like I think about winters growing up. If we spent all winter inside in New Hampshire, that's 4 or 5 months out of the year that we lose, that we're just not
yeah,
doing
yeah.
anything. So you kind of learn
Right.
to adapt and you learn to understand if I want to be outside, I'm just going to have to go with this, put an extra
Yeah,
jacket
yeah,
on, throw an extra sweatshirt on, whatever it is, and go
yeah.
out there and enjoy life.
Right. And the thing is too, it helps you get to know your local nature. I mean, I use the example of our local lake in the book, that just by being outside in the winter and observing the lake and how it freezes, that helps me stay safe as I go ice skating on the lake. I learn where the treacherous spots are. I know which spots, are the last ones to freeze in the when winter falls, and also which ones thaws. When spring comes, when the ones that thaws first. And so I think it's important that we experience nature during all the seasons to just to see what it's like and to get a closer connection with nature, because that's what it's all about, nurturing that connection.
So I love in the book too about how you talk about all sorts of different practical skills for people to use when they're going
Mhm.
out there. If you're a novice or if you've been going outdoors all the time, there's still a lot you can learn from this. Things from making fires to cleaning water and what plants we can and cannot eat out there, which is
Yeah,
which is always the question, right? Can I eat that? I don't know.
yeah. Right. Yeah. Never eat anything you're not 100% sure that you can identify is one of my tips in the book. But yeah, there's really, it adds another dimension to outdoor life when you can, I think, when you can experience nature using all your senses. And taste is, of course, one of those senses. And I started doing a lot of foraging just a few years ago, and now in my 40s. So it's never too late to start adding these skills. I've never really set out to just rigorously learn how to do certain things. I've just kind of followed my interests and seen where it takes me. And a lot of times it helps to have somebody else to learn from. This, like we were talking about, you socialize into Friluftsliv. So I had a friend show me how to identify certain mushrooms. So I knew then that okay, she's eaten these mushrooms. She's still alive. so so that's fine. Oh yeah, I can pick these. And yeah, it just helps you feel safer out there too. I think part of the problem today is a lot of people haven't grown up spending a lot of time outdoors, so they are alienated from nature, and that in turn makes you feel unsafe, or feel fear when you're outside. And the only way of getting over that is to be out there and learning how to handle different things like ticks and
Mhm.
poison ivy. I mean, I'm not going to pretend that there's no risk of being outside. There's certainly risks, but as long as you learn how to manage them, then I don't think they should stop you from going outside.
The book is also the most beautiful book I've ever seen. From the design,
Oh,
like
thank
the
you.
illustrations in it, just even the
Yeah.
color of the font, not the font, the typing, the print. I was like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
this is just so well put together. I don't know how much of a hand you had in the design and everything, but it's beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah, no, a friend of mine did the illustrations, and the cover just came out amazing. I love it. Even the spine of it is
Yeah.
just beautiful when you put it in the bookshelf. It's like, yeah, it's so inviting. I love it. It perfectly sums up what the whole spirit of Friluftsliv and the open air life.
I love it. Well, the book is called The Open Air Life, Discover the Nordic Art of Friluftsliv and Embrace Nature Every Day. Linda McGurk, thank you so much for your time. Where can people go if they want to find out more about you? I know you're really active on social media too.
Yeah. I do have a blog, rainorShineMama.com, and that's rainorShineMama.com with 2 M's. And I have a newsletter that that people can sign up for, and they can also find me primarily on Facebook and Instagram under that handle, Rain or Shine Mama.
Linda,
Yeah.
it's really been a pleasure. I love this book. I love the message you're trying to get out there to people. And I have to check out your previous book too. I didn't know about that one until doing some research
Yeah.
about this. So I'm really looking forward to checking that out as well. But thank you for everything, and I appreciate your time today.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Big thank you to Linda Akeson McGurk. The book, The Open Air Life, Discover the Nordic Art of Friluftsliv and Embrace Nature Every Day is available now. And thank you all for listening to this episode and all the episodes, frankly. I so appreciate you. Next week, I'm going to have a little 2022 recap for you as we wrap up the year. Looking forward to hopefully another big year next year.